The print, 31st of July 2023, the CCP's new ideological tenet is border defense. Additionally, Xi has a czar leading the charge. The United States announced $345 million in military assistance to Taiwan on July 28. Wang Huning, the second-in-command for President Xi Jinping in China, recently visited Tibet. Yuchao, the commander of the People's Liberation Army's rocket force, is the subject of an inquiry by anti-corruption authorities, according to the South China Morning Post. This week's Chinascope topic is Beijing's bargaining strategies and agreement to dominate emerging economies. During the week, China. Recently, rumors regarding an inquiry into dishonest PLARF high executives have surfaced. According to unnamed individuals who spoke to SCMP, we have heard that Li is under investigation for allegations of corruption, along with his former co-worker Zhang Zhenzhong, who is being looked into on suspicion of graft. His current deputy Lu Guangban is also under investigation. According to the same sources, the probe began when Wei Feng, China's previous defense minister, retired in March 2023. China's defense ministry hasn't yet confirmed the story. The modernization of China's nuclear arsenal would be significantly impacted by a crisis inside the PLARF, which has alarmed many in the Indo-Pacific. In the meantime, on July 26, Xi visited the Western Theater Command Air Force in preparation for China's Army Day, which is observed on August 1. At the Western Theater Command Air Force Base in Chengdu, the president declared that it is necessary to promote new equipment and forces to accelerate the formation of combat effectiveness and organically integrate them into the combat system. Xi highlights the Chinese Communist Party's (CCP) dominance over the army as the corruption scandal hovers over the PLA's head. Every time Xi travels on an inspection tour, it is clear how important he views ideological instruction. We don't see Wang Huning, Xi's ideological czar, go to Tibet for an inspection very often. That is what occurred during the last week. From Tuesday to Thursday, Wang traveled to the border regions, including Ningxi and the Tibetan capital Lhasa. He has been one of the most notable visitors to Tibet since Xi's trip to Lhasa in 2022 because of his position of authority within the Politburo Standing Committee and his friendship with the Chinese leader. The political advisor traveled to Zigamanba village in Milan City, Yani National Wetland Park, and Gala village in Bai district in Ningxi, direct across from India's Arunachal Pradesh. Wang mentioned the need to enhance the development capabilities of border areas, making reference to China's efforts to fight poverty and the construction of Shakong villages along the border with India. The objective of Tibet's work, according to Wang, should be to protect the nation's reunification and deepen national unity, as well as to effectively carry out ethnic and religious work and promote interethnic relations. Wang also emphasized the stabilization, development, ecology, and strengthening of the borders as China's four most significant concerns. Wang is the perfect model for the increased emphasis on border defense, which has become an ideological component of the Xi establishment. Wang also checked on the progress of the Sichuan-Tibet Railway. The 14th five-year plan presented by the Autonomous Region authorities indicates that the project will likely last until 2025, contrary to claims made by Chinese state media that the development of the railway project is almost finished. In the meantime, on July 28, Beijing hosted the 31st World University Games opening ceremony in Chengdu, which world leaders, including Indonesian President Joko Widodo, attended. As China granted stapled visas to 3 athletes from Arunachal Pradesh, India withdrew its whole wushu, martial arts, squad from competing in the Games. On Thursday, the Central Industrial Security Force (CISF) and immigration staff at the Indira Gandhi International Airport abruptly prevented the delegation from boarding a flight to Chengdu. Pekinology, an English-language newsletter run by former Xinhua news agency journalist Yuchao Wang, who is now associated with the government think tank Center for China and Globalization, addressed the issue of stapled visas and cited comments made by Wang Yi in 2014, calling them a goodwill gesture. The newsletter claimed that India discriminated against Chinese businesspeople seeking business permits. But the boundary issue between China and India was not even mentioned by Xi and his co-authors. Beijing is stepping up its efforts to prevent emerging economies from banding together against it. Limiting India's options is a critical component of this approach. On July 25, 2023, Wang made a demand for increasing the representation of the Global South in the new round of reforms of the global governance system during the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, meeting in Johannesburg. In China's view, the so-called Global South is a zone governed by Beijing, with New Delhi as a junior partner. Beijing is attempting to negotiate from a position of strength by ignoring the border dispute while urging the restart of business operations. Beijing has already secured areas in eastern Ladakh where PLA patrols had previously been laxly deployed. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Xi were said to have established an important consensus on stabilizing China-India relations in Bali in 2022, according to a press release from the Chinese Foreign Ministry that was released following a meeting between Indian National Security Advisor, NSA, Ajit Doval and Wang Yi in Johannesburg. This clause was omitted from most of Xinhua's English-language publications and buried in the Foreign Ministry statement's Mandarin translation, which the Hindu picked up. Modi and Xi did, according to the Indian Ministry of External Affairs, MEA, briefly mention the need to stabilize relations at their meeting in Bali. But why does Wang only now bring up Modi's brief conversation with Xi? Adding new information in the middle of the negotiation throws the opponent off balance and ups their annoyance. China is known for using this strategy. We can be confident that these secret discussions won't result in demolishing the long-standing buildings erected in eastern Ladakh, frequently shown on Chinese state media during military drills. The PLA is not dissipating. According to a recent Pew Research Center survey, only nations in the Global South, including Indonesia, South Africa, Nigeria, and Kenya, have slightly ambivalent views on China. India is among the leading dissenters, and its disapproval of Beijing is high. New Delhi must keep an open mind when negotiating with Beijing to avoid falling into the trap of the China-led order among the rising economies. The long-term interests of India will suffer from it. The following best action for Beijing is to limit India's negotiation alternatives to keep regional perceptions of Beijing reasonably favorable. Chinese news worldwide. Weapon systems from the U.S. inventory will be transferred to Taipei as part of Washington's $345 million military aid package to Taiwan. This plan is unique because the sale uses U.S. stockpile materials, unlike how Ukraine has been equipped against Russia. These weapons will be delivered now thanks to the presidential drawdown plan for Taiwan, as opposed to waiting for a new system to be developed, which has already slowed down some weapon transfers. The Joe Biden administration hasn't yet released package details, but it will include Taiwanese defense, education, and training. But a U.S. official who spoke to the Associated Press on the condition of anonymity said that Washington is expected to supply man-portable air defense systems, or MANPADS, intelligence and surveillance capabilities, as well as firearms and missiles. Chinese critics have voiced their worries. In an opinion piece, China Daily claimed that it is intended to sow the seed of secessionism in the minds of the young to turn them into cannon fodder of the secessionists in power.